Alright, 7.7, operations on functions. Objectives. Students will be able to find the sum, difference, product, and quotient of functions, and find the composition of functions. All these are probably going to be easy. Composite's probably going to be the trickiest thing, and even that's pretty easy. So what does this mean? F plus g of x. That means that we're going to take these two functions and just add them together. That's it. Here they're saying f plus g of 2. So we can take f of 2, which is 5 times 2 squared, plus g of 2, which would be 2 times 2 minus 1, and just add them together. Well, 2 squared is 4, times 5 is 20, and 4 minus 1 is 3, so 20 plus 3 is 23, and that's it. Go ahead and try to do this one, f plus g of 5, where you plug in a 5 for both functions and add them together. I'll pause the video and let you guys work it out. Okay, you should have gotten 125 for f of 5 and 9 for g of 5. Maybe it would be a good idea to kind of write f of 5 here and g of 5 here so you kind of see what you're doing. But when you add those two things together, you get 134. Okay, let's go to the next one. Alright, well, we're going to do f of x equals 5x squared, g of x equals 2x minus 1, and now we're going to subtract them from each other. So we already know what f of 2 is, and we already know what g of 2 is. Take a look. We did it up here. This was f of 2, because it was the same function, and this was g of 2. So we could take that information and know that this is just like saying f of 2 minus g of 2, and f of 2 is 20, and g of 2 is 3. So our answer here is just simply 17. And the same idea can be done here. We already know what g of 2 is. G of 2 is 3 minus f of 2, which is 20. So it's just going to be the opposite, which is negative 17. So pretty simple idea here. One thing I want to show you real quick. What if they said just find, let's say like f minus g, sorry, it's a little funky f, of just x. What would that mean if they just wrote that? Well, that would mean we're going to take 5x squared, and it's just 5x squared because all we're doing is leaving the x in. That's what that means there. Minus 2x minus 1. But remember, we're subtracting this whole thing, so we have to subtract with parentheses. So if we distribute those parentheses, or that negative, we would get 5x squared minus 2x plus 1, and that would be our answer for something like that. We just leave it like that because we don't have a number to plug in and get back some number like 17 here. Okay, let's go to the next page. Alright, so here now we're multiplying these things, just multiplying these straight across. So let's do f of g of 2. Well, f is going to be 5 times 2 squared, which we already have done again. We're going to take that, we're going to multiply it by g of 2, which is 2 times 2 minus 1, which we've done before. We already know this is going to be 3. We already know this is going to be 20. So 20 times 3 is 60. Okay, now let's do g of f of 3. Well, we're going to plug in 3 for g. So that's going to be a 2 times 3 minus 1. Sorry, I wrote that a little bit out of order. So that's my g of 3. And what's f of 3? Well, that's 5x squared, so it's 5, 3 squared. Okay, pretty simple. 2 times 3 is 6, minus 1 is 5, and 3 squared is 9. 9 times 5 is 45. So we're going to do 5 times 45, which is 225. Okay, so far we've only plugged in numbers. So before we do this next one, let's pretend real quick like they were going to give us f divided by g of x. Just this. Okay, so let's just do that over on the side. Let's just say I wanted to know what is f divided by g of just x. Okay, well, that is going to be f of x, which is 5x squared, divided by g of x, which is 2x minus 1. And that's pretty much it, except for we have an x in the denominator, which means that this could sometimes equal 0, and we're not allowed to have the denominator equal 0. So we have to put in a number here that would keep this from equaling 0. So let me just show you how you would do that real quick. Take the denominator, 2x minus 1, and say, hey, that cannot equal 0. And now just solve this real quick. So add 1 to both sides, divide by 2, and you get x cannot equal 1/2. So your answer here would be 5x squared over 2x minus 1, and then you'd have a little comma, and you'd say x cannot equal 1/2. You have to put in that restriction when they give you just an x. Now these problems are actually giving us numbers, so they're going to be a little bit easier, but sometimes they're going to give us just the x, and we have to simplify that function. So let's do example number 4. This is f of g of 2. Okay, again, we already know that this is going to be f of 2 over g of 2, and we already know, using the same functions, f of 2 is 20 and g of 2 is 3. So that's it. We would just leave it like that. Once you guys go ahead and find g of f of 3, I'll pause the video, let you guys figure that out on your own right now. Okay, so you should have had g of 3 over f of 3. That's how you find g of 3. This is how you find f of 3. That's 5 over 45, which is 1 over 9. And that's how you would solve that one. So far we've been just plugging in numbers. I showed you a little about what if they just ask you to keep an x in there and simplify those functions down. What about this notation? This is different. Now earlier we did multiplying, that was a solid dot. But what happens when it's an open circle? Well, that's called the composition. Okay, so this means we're going to take g of x and plug it into f of x. So again, I'm going to do, over here on the side, I'm going to do just f circle g of x first, so I can show you how this would look. So let's take g of x and let's plug it into this function. Well, it would look something like this. I probably won't simplify it out because it's just going to be too crazy, but we take the function f of x, and everywhere that there is an x, we're just going to leave a big blank in parentheses. And now I can take this 3x plus 5, which is my g of x, and I'm going to plug that in. So g of x is 3x plus 5, so I plug in a 3x plus 5 here, 3x plus 5 here. And now you have this whole crazy thing. So you have to actually FOIL this out, which would get you, first would be 9x squared. Outside would be 15x and 15x, so that's 30x, and then 5 times 5 is 25. And that's just this part. Now we could do this part, and that would be plus 6x plus 10 minus 8. And now we could combine like terms. So we get 9x squared plus 36x. 25 and 10 is 35 minus 8 is 27. Plus 27. Okay, that is what they mean by plugging a function into another function. Sometimes you're going to have to do that. You actually plug in a function. Sometimes you're just plugging in a number and then plugging in that number into the next function. But we actually found out what this function would look like, and it would look like that. Plugging this function into this one. Now let's just see what would happen if we just did the numbers. And now our functions are different, so that means we're going to find f of 2 first. So f of 2 is 2 squared plus 2 times 2 minus 8. That's 4 plus 4 minus 8. That's really just 0. So f of 2 is 0. So that means that g dot f of 2 is going to be the function g of x, so 3, but with a 0 plugged in. So 3 times 0 is 0, plus 5 is 5. So our answer is 5. And that's how we would calculate that. You plug it into the first function, the function closest to your number, and then you plug it into the one that's farther from your number. So I'm going to let you guys try this one. And I'll let you pause the video so you can give it a shot, and then I'll put the answers up in just a second. Okay, so first we're going to plug 3 into g, because that's the one closest to the number, and we get back a 14. This means then that f of g of 3 is the same thing as f of 14. So we plug a 14 into this function, 14 squared, 2 times 14 minus 8. 14 squared is 196, this is 28, and this is just negative 8. Add that all together, you get 216. So that's how you do those types of problems. Hopefully you got those numbers. Remember that when you're dividing, if you get just the f of g of x or g of f of x, you do have to note that restriction. That part's a little confusing. But all you're doing is saying, hey, what can this denominator not equal? That's it. Okay, that's it for 7-7.